This year's League of Legends World Championship was held in Beijing, China. Although China is a new rising power in League of Legends, however, the finals were between South Korean teams. Then I wondered why. Why are Koreans so good at eSports? While I was searching for some related videos about it on YouTube, trying to figure out why, I found a pretty interesting video. It was a video made by Duncan Thorin Shields, a British eSports journalist and analyst. And this video was about what he thinks about esports in Korea based on his own experience and observation for about 15 years. In short, games like StarCraft, Brood War, and League of Legends became sensationally popular in South Korea like a social phenomenon. And with the good infrastructure that followed, helped some of us Koreans to become top-tier players. But what's more important, Koreans had some pretty significant results in games that didn't have enough infrastructure or support like Counter-Strike, Warcraft 3, and even Quake. And in conclusion, not just because of the infrastructure, excessive diligence on games and the tenacity to win made Koreans to become the best in esports. I totally agree on this, but then some questions came to my mind. Why are Korean pro gamers so obsessed with winning and achieving good results even when they don't get enough support? And how did Korea establish superior esports infrastructure? Well, to learn more about the esports scene in Korea, we should go back to 20 years ago. In 1997, we experienced a financial crisis called the IMF crisis. It doesn't mean that it was caused by the International Monetary Fund, but actually we were rescued by IMF. And so a number of businesses went bankrupt, and multitudes of laborers and employees lost their job. But let's talk about this later. And in 1998, StarCraft was released, and it was a mega hit. StarCraft was more than just a video game. StarCraft was released in Korea as well and had a profound impact on the whole country. What aided this to happen was the supply of personal computers and the birth of internet cafes called PC Bang. The reason why I mentioned about the financial crisis that struck my country in 1997 was to explain this. At that time, the newly elected president Kim Dae-jung fostered IT industry intensively, which is a high value-added business. However, the foundation for fostering IT businesses needed users, and in order to meet this condition, people had to have their own computers and be able to use them. Just in time in 1999, a new type of internet access technology called Asymmetric Digital Subscriber Line, ADSL for short, was introduced. In the same year, the Kim Dae-jung government started the movement for the provision of personal computers, so-called Movement for Love PC. Skip the details. This movement was about manufacturing computers with reasonable performance and price and providing the computers to households by collaborating with small and medium-sized enterprises. It eased the burden of households buying computers, and so people rushed to stores to get their own personal computers. There was something unique about those computers that were sold at that time. Programs necessary to utilize computers were illegally installed. It was like, at that time, dealers would even convince consumers that they would install this and that for their customers if they buy computers from them. And of course, there were games included. Almost 90% of the computers had illegally installed StarCraft Brood War. I was an elementary school student in the early 2000s, and how I first experienced StarCraft was just because I bought a new computer, not a game CD. I didn't even know what StarCraft was. I just bought this new computer, and there was a red spaceship on the screen. I clicked it, and guess what? I was leading wars in space. So the younger generation in Korea started to enjoy playing StarCraft, and this led to the creation of a new culture, PC Bang. Kids who didn't have their own computer could play StarCraft with their friends in a new playground called PC Bang with a little money. Of course, there are many opinions that the boom of PC Bang was because of lack of places that Korean youngsters can have fun. Anyway, people who lost their jobs due to the financial crisis had to start their own small businesses for a living. I told you that with the fever of StarCraft, the younger generation went to PC Bangs a lot, right? So as the demands increased, the self-employed started ramping up PC Bangs. How many were there? There were only about 100 PC Bangs nationwide in early 1998, but became nearly 20,000 in the mid-2000s. Literally, you could play StarCraft at home or with your friends at PC Bangs, anywhere, anytime. Obviously, people didn't only play StarCraft at PC Bangs, but StarCraft Brood War was the most played video game in PC Bang till 2004. StarCraft was distributed throughout the country, and this led to the creation of a new culture, eSports. Video game related events were still being held before eSports existed. In Korea also. But when an anime and cartoon channel in Korea called Tooniverse televised video game tournaments as a test run, it had unexpectedly high viewer ratings. Perhaps it was destined to happen, because, for example, baseball. You need to know all the rules of baseball to fully enjoy it, even when you're just watching the match, right? However, for StarCraft, most of the viewers already knew the rules and methods. When the test run broadcast received high ratings, a new cable television channel that specializes in broadcasting video game related content and esports matches named On Game Net, OGN for short, was created in 2000 and gained massive popularity. The esports industry began to grow, and the popularity of esports in Korea was tremendous. This naturally increased public interest, and along with the prosperity of esports, followed numerous pro gamers, teams, and infrastructures. Companies began to sponsor pro gamers, and they got their own management companies, team houses, and practice rooms. They even had divisions in their teams, so they had to compete themselves in order to enter professional game tournaments. In this rat race, some of the players who were qualified to enter tournaments were world-class players who showed extremely good performances. In StarCraft, Im Yo-hwan was the most famous of them. In his golden days, Im Yo-hwan had more fans than any other top-class Korean singers and actors. Not only Im Yo-hwan, there were many star players like Hong Jin-ho, Kim Patry, Lee Yoon-yeol, Park Jung-seok, Kang Min, and so on. And they earned an incredible amount of money by playing games well. Thanks to the diffusion of personal computers and PC bunks, pro gamer was in the top 10 dream jobs chosen by kids at that time. Actually, some kids who were brave enough left their homes to become a professional gamer. This created some kind of a cycle. These kids gather from all over the country, then competition gets more fierce. In this kind of environment, new prodigies appear. They improve their skills and performances, then they become popular. And huge companies sponsor these players. And kids admire these players and begin their career to be like them. The craze for esports was incredible, because the StarCraft Pro League that was held in Gwanghwali Beach, Busan, Korea in 2004 has even attracted over 100,000 people. StarCraft Pro League's popularity led to the birth of new star players like Lee Jae-dong, Kim Tae-kyu, Song Byung-gu, and Lee Young-ho. And yes, there was also Ma Jae-yoon. Then the scandal erupted. This led the StarCraft scene to completely collapse and the fall of esports. But actually, 2010, when the match-fixing scandal happened, was 12 years since StarCraft was released. So the public interest in StarCraft was gradually decreasing, and the StarCraft Pro League was going to perish at some point anyways. That's what some people say, and I agree to that. It's just natural because what goes up must come down. Anyway, because of that, the StarCraft Pro League was shut down. But the enthusiasm of Koreans for games has never cooled down. Since StarCraft, the whole nation was exposed to video games. And in addition, with the growth of Korean game industry in the 2000s, it was taken for granted that young people like games. Internet became faster, and the PC bang business entered a stable state. With the diffusion of high-performance personal computers and good quality games, many kids grew up playing games naturally. This is what we call the youth system of Korean esports. Well, there's no accurate index to compare with foreign countries, but if you look at this article presumed to have been written by a foreign game expert, he thought the PC bang culture was very refreshing and explained it in detail. Of course, LAN gaming centers are now spread all over the world, but Korean PC bangs have basically high-speed internet, good facility, and powerful computers better than any other countries. Oh yes, they say China also has many luxurious internet cafes nowadays. Well, the public awareness, environment, infrastructure, video game-related TV programs, and professional game tournaments, which were attributable to StarCraft, were either gone or diminished gradually. But what's important is that we've done it before. And it was League of Legends that was built over the ruins of StarCraft in the end of 2011. This new game was something everyone can enjoy playing, and it's even fun to watch. So the whole nation was interested. Maybe because we had the experience with StarCraft, League of Legends eSports developed much faster than its predecessor. Then Faker was born. I think its biggest difference with the era of Brood War is the change of media. Webcasting began to rise around 2012 and 2013. And like how StarCraft got popular when it was broadcasted by OGN, League of Legends became a sensation in internet live streaming channels. Not to mention professional players, streamers became very famous and popular. The important thing is that these streamers had a big influence on the younger generation. According to the research done by the Korea Press Foundation in 2016, 25% of teens and 20s were already hardcore audiences of webcasts. And based on a survey of 300 middle and high school students nationwide, more than 90% of the students knew about what webcasts are. It is important to note that these younger generations are major internet users. You know that you can make money from internet traffic, right? League of Legends related videos uploaded by streamers and eSports tournaments like LCK and the League of Legends World Championship receive millions of views. Some pro gamers even made hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and many players joined the cycle that I mentioned earlier to become like them. And we kept our throne of League of Legends champions for 5 years straight now since 2013. Now you would think that Koreans are good at playing games due to the excellent infrastructure and the youth system we have. Like what Thorin said in his video, Korean players actually achieved some meaningful results in games like Counter-Strike and Quake. How did they succeed in those games even with limited infrastructure and support? I tried to find out the reason for that, so I searched it online. But I couldn't agree with the text that other Koreans analyzed. And it was hard for me to conclude either. But then I found an interesting debate on Reddit. The topic was about why Koreans are so good at video games, and what these non-Koreans thought was quite reasonable. They compared their own situation with the Korean culture that I took for granted because I was Korean and found the differences between theirs and ours. In summary, the provision of super fast internet services nationwide, and the fact that we lack other fun activities to enjoy besides playing games, and that Koreans are easily swept along by the fads are the reasons why Koreans are so good at playing games. Whenever a new, good quality game is released, they all just go play that game. And playing games was the only way to enjoy our short break after school due to the obsession with education of Korean parents. Also, kids who already decided to become pro gamers have crossed the Rubicon. And compared to other countries, the awareness of pro gamers in Korea has improved so gamers could focus on their careers. And that the desire to win in a competitive society made Koreans become good at games. I cannot agree 100% with this, but still this is very plausible, especially the part about the rat race in Korea. Koreans compete since they are born, and to some kids, competing can be something negative. But the kids who won in competitions feel a sense of accomplishment and get praised. Video games were the only positive competition they had experienced, and you can say that their strong competitive spirit made them become so good at video games. But it's not just Koreans that compete. And also, to interpret this from philosophical and social perspectives, there's just no end to it. So I say, the optimized environment for eSports, the good infrastructure we have, and the fame of star players formed a trinity. And this created some kind of a synergy effect with Korean traits, and Korea became the best country in the world. It was really hard to put into words what's in my head. Lastly, this is my personal, subjective view, and what I've said is only about professional game players, because not all Koreans are good at video games. Take me as an example, I suck. So please, I hope you don't ban us when you meet Koreans in games. Well, except for StarCraft and League of Legends.